Hi everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of the ITSM crowd. I'm delighted today to be joined by Matthew Burrows, and we're going to be talking about the partnership that we've just created between ITSM Zone and SkillsTX. We're going to talk about why skills are so important, particularly in the current situation, and how you can create your digital CV and identify the skills that you need to really transform your career. My name's Claire Agata, and the first thing I'm going to do is ask Matthew just to quickly introduce himself and tell us a little bit about his background.
No problem. Hi, Claire. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Surviving. Yes, good.
Yes.
I think we all are at the moment. So it's an interesting times we live in. So I'm Matthew Burrows. My background is in project program, portfolio management and IT service management. I used to be the president of the Institute of Service Management. I've served on the ITSMF UK board with yourself, Claire. So I remember our fun times doing something for the community there. I'm also fairly active in a number of best practices, including SIAM and various service management and project management methodologies. My main focus is on skills, people and skills. So I spend a lot of time using SOFIA, the skills framework for the information age. I'm part of the global design authority for that, and I spend most of my time helping governments and organizations around the world get better at how they manage their people and skills. So digital skills management, I guess, is probably the phrase that we tend to use now.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And just a reminder that if you're watching this live, you can ask us questions using the YouTube comments field. So if you put a question into YouTube comments, we'll see that here. We can bring it through onto the screen and we can discuss it. So if you've got a question that you want to ask Matthew, by all means, please do. If you're watching this on catch up, you can contact us using the hashtag ITSM crowd on Twitter, and you'll find both myself and Matthew on LinkedIn as well. So this week we have announced the partnership between ITSM Zone and SkillsTX. So ITSM Zone providing e-learning in the service management field for more than 10 years. So really interesting time for us. Matthew, maybe you can give us a little bit of background about SkillsTX as well.
Sure, yeah. So SkillsTX, we've been around for a while as well, so focusing on SOFIA and skills. So we have a SaaS platform that helps people to assess their current skills. So know where you're starting from, always essential in a development journey. Then they can compare their skills with different skill profiles and that sort of thing. So do gap analysis. Where are my development needs? Where are my gaps? And then this is where the partnership comes in, is because once you've identified those gaps, of course, you need to know what are the things I can do about those gaps. So the partnership that we've developed really is mapping the whole of the catalog from ITSM Zone to SOFIA and making that available in the SkillsTX tool so that people can not only baseline their current skills, see the gaps, build a development action plan, but include all of the relevant ITSM Zone items in that action plan. So it's really closing that loop to help them to develop the skills that they need, whether that's short term for current role or slightly longer term for longer term career planning as well.
And you've mentioned SOFIA a couple of times there.
Yeah.
If there's anybody watching who's not familiar with SOFIA, could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so SOFIA is a bit like other frameworks like ITIL and other things that we use. It's just, instead of describing the processes that we use in an IT environment, SOFIA, the skills framework for the information age, is just a set of standard skill descriptions for our area. So it covers all technology related skill sets. So that includes project management, business analysis, software development, as well as the sort of service management type skills throughout the life cycle, and various other things. It even includes some sales and marketing and relationship management skills in an IT environment, and quality management, a whole range of different skills. But it's been around for over 20 years. It's developed by the industry for the industry, and gets regularly updated so that it reflects all the new skills coming down the line. It's used in nearly 200 countries around the world. So it is the nearest thing we have to an internationally accepted global set of definitions for skills.
Yeah, because I think particularly in the service management industry, it's one of the things that people find quite a challenge is there isn't one career path that you follow. You know, you don't come in as a junior analyst and then an analyst and then progress up to a manager. The routes that people take into service management are all very, very different.
Absolutely right. And of course, there are loads of transferable skills. So, you know, if you've started off as a business analyst, well, some of those analysis and understanding business requirement skills are useful if you become a project manager, or if you go into consultancy, or, you know, if you're a service level manager, actually negotiating service level agreements. So skills are massively transferable. They don't just apply to one job. You don't have to learn everything new if you move to a new job. Some stuff is going to be the same, but applied in a different way. So really important.
Yeah. And I mean, one of the things that we found as a training organisation is when the pandemic started, business just froze. So we had 2 weeks where, you know, nobody was interested in training. We had some big purchase orders that got cancelled. The pipeline disappeared. And we thought, you know, we were really kind of panicking a little bit and thinking, is this it for the training industry? But then what we saw is, I think once organisations got people established working from home, they started to think about the skills side of thing as well. So, you know, there's been some organisations that we've spoken to who've just said, look, we're too busy to think about training. But then there's other organisations that are thinking about, actually, what skills do we need when we start to put things back together as an organisation? You know, in the UK, we've got the scheme where staff can be furloughed and the government will pay their wages, but they can actually train during that time. One of the activities they can still undertake is training. So is this a real opportunity to think about skills?
Yeah, it is, and it's funny you mentioned that behaviour that you've seen. I've seen two divergent sets of behaviour. You know, there have been absolutely those organisations that have said we have to put all of this stuff on hold. We're busy dealing with this emergency. But interestingly, I've seen a lot of organisations take the opposite approach. I've just finished a project for part of the NHS actually, where they realised early on in this crisis that actually, from a continuity point of view, they're asking people to do things that they don't normally do, either to fill in for staff that are off sick or suddenly unavailable, or just to change what they do because the whole IT environment has changed as well. So they've realized that it's even more important now than ever to understand the full set of skills that your workforce has, because sometimes you're asking them to practice some of those skills that are not part of their current day job, but as something that they used in a project 6 months ago or in a previous role a year ago. So understanding the full picture of your skill profiles become even more important to those organizations. And then, of course, the change to working, you know, some people found themselves, sadly, they found themselves out of work, either temporarily furloughed or made redundant. And even if you are lucky enough to retain your job, you still need to think about how does my skill set need to change to recognize this new normal or new way of working. And some people have had greater opportunity to do some of that development activity from home. So online training, you know, is absolutely on the money for really supporting people that they can do that. They haven't been able to go to traditional classroom training if that's been in their plan. So even the people have converted from classroom to online training because it's so much more convenient and they can still do it. Yeah.
And again, I think universities as well have had to make a switch incredibly quickly. And it's, I saw a webinar, it was called Forced Digital Transformation. And I think, you know, maybe a lot of the things we've been thinking about, suddenly it's not really an option anymore. But one of the things that I think NHS is a good example because they do invest very heavily in training and in skills.
Mm-hmm.
And I think organisations are sort of seeing that return on investment.
Yeah.
And there are some organisations that maybe haven't thought about training, haven't thought about developing the staff, and they're reaping what they sow to a certain extent now.
Yeah. Well, this is where the mapping becomes so important, because most of us who've been around for a while, we've probably been sent on a training course where we come away from it saying that wasn't the right training for me.
Yes.
You know, either I knew it all already, I'd done it, or actually it was too advanced for me and I should have gone on the more basic course. Well, this is where mapping the training to something like the SOFIA framework works really well, because then if you need to develop a skill, you've got it at level 5, but you need to develop it at level 6, it will tell you need to go on the practitioner training rather than the foundation training, for example.
Yeah. Yeah.
So having that mapping reduces the amount of wasted time that people can have from going on the wrong training. That's really important.
Yeah, I mean, I've been a classroom trainer, and one of the most frustrating things, I think, was staring at a sea of blank faces and having them go, well, you know, boss sent me, didn't really want to be here.
It's not just me then.
Huge waste of time for everyone. But
and just really bad for the learners as well.
Yes, it is.
Bad for their employers. It's just wrong all round.
Yeah, and I think the shift that we've seen recently with things like lifelong learning being much more brought to the front, you know, it's not enough to send people on a 3-day training course once a year. Learning has to be continuous, and you know, I fully understand the training that we offer doesn't mean necessarily that you are able to go back to work and execute something perfectly, but what it should be doing is changing your thinking, encouraging you to try new things, and then people can build on that with, you know, webinars, blogs, practice, and then the gradually developing those skills.
Absolutely. Your development is a number of things. You might go on a training course, but then you need the opportunity to put that into practice, preferably in a working environment. You know, all of those things can be built into your own development action plan. You know, sometimes you might have 5 or 6 actions to fully develop a particular skill at a particular level. You know, training's a great start for a lot of those. Yes,
and it should be inspiring, I think. So let's dig into SkillsTX in a bit more detail then.
Yeah.
Shall I bring your
if you share my screen, I just show initially just this first sort of graphic. This really just highlights what we've been doing between ITSM Zone and SkillsTX, and this is something that anybody listening can do now. And they can do it free, and we'll make sure we publish the links and that people can do this. But basically, they go through this process. You know, you click on to create your own SOFIA-based skills profile. You know, it doesn't take you long. It's a guided assessment that allows you to create that. So some people refer to that as their digital CV, because it is a representation of their skills and experience. So create that. In the system, we've got a number of sample jobs. So we've got hundreds of them, including standard job descriptions from UK government, Australian government, European Commission as well. There's a whole range of those. So you can actually then look at different sample jobs, you know, particularly if you're thinking about a change in direction in your career as well. You can say, which skills, you know, how well do I already match these particular roles? You know, what's a sensible career path for me? Then you can identify those gaps and create a development action plan, picking the items from the ITSM Zone online catalogue, and then keep your skill profile up to date as your skills change over time. Keep your action plan up to date as you complete actions. That's a really good baseline for anybody's development plan. So enough of the graphics. Let me switch to sort of what it actually looks like in the tool. Okay, so what will happen is, as soon as you click the link and you register, you get a link to your own self-assessment. You complete that self-assessment. Shouldn't take you longer than an hour to do. Some people do it in 15 minutes. Some people like to take a bit longer, but it's just an initial data grab. It's, you know, what are my current skills? As soon as you finish that, you see a screen that looks like this. So this is a test user I've logged in as, their skill profile. They can see all of their skills that they have. They can see, their level of autonomy, level of influence, so the softer type skills, business skills, including communication. So it's not just about hard technical skills, it's about the softer, more behavioral type elements as well. And the words that are popping up on the screen are all the SOFIA descriptions for these skills at these levels as I hover over them. The more colourful bit is the skill profile. So you can see this particular user has specialist advice as a skill at levels 4 and 5. They've got portfolio program and project support and so on. So they've got their whole list of skills. Some of them fully developed, which is the solid colours. Some of them partially or largely developed, so still some room for fully mastering those skills, and also capturing their previous skills from earlier on in their career as well. So that's their baseline skill profile. What they can then do with that is overlay the requirements of a role. So it might be a current role, it might be a future role. They can click the show button, and that gives them an initial gap analysis. So they can see that actually, looking at this future role of senior project manager in this case, I've got some gaps. I'm going to need to work on my complexity, my business skills. I've also got a couple of skills down here, benefits management I might need, and so on. So it gives them a quick overview of those potential gaps. Then they go into the action plan section. So the My Action Plan, which again shows them their gaps in a bit more detail. So, and I can see here that, if I've got a particular skill that I need to develop, I can click on that skill, and it will highlight the relevant training from ITSM Zone in here that actually helps them to develop that skill at that level. So this is where the mapping comes in, and they can see for this particular skill of benefits management at level 5, the highlighted courses here. You can see the ones that are specifically mapped to those skills. They can then go and look at that course, click the link to go and look at the information, bit more detail, decide which one or which ones they want to add to their plan, click them, set a target date, add it to their action plan. Really simple, and it would appear in their action plan up the top, and they then keep that up to date by, if they need to shift the dates, they can adjust the dates, they can change the progress. So rather than to do, it becomes in progress and then done. So really simple, and that's probably all I need to show on the screen. It's really as simple as that. They can add in custom actions as well. So we talked about training courses not being everything. They might want to do the training, and then actually maybe they want just simply some more hands-on experience of doing it. Add that as an action to your action plan. They might attend an event. There could be a conference that's specifically related to those skills that they're looking to develop. It could be a special interest group from ITSMF, for example. It could be that they want some coaching. So a number of different things could form part of that development plan. So they can add those in, build their plan, manage it from there.
I do love this system. I think, I think back to when I was working in large organizations, and there was nothing like this. You had maybe a dusty folder with some certificates in it, and you had your annual review once a year with your manager who'd say, well, I've got this much money, what training do you want to do? But being able to bring all this together, I really, really like it. I'm just putting the link here on screen. But it's on the SkillsTX website as well. There's a blog on the ITSM Zone website as well, but that's where people can go and create this free profile.
Absolutely, and that's important to emphasize that this is a free offer to individuals. We're doing our bit to help individuals be able to baseline their skills and to build their development action plan. Of course, we also have a version of the tool where organizations can have their own instance of it. And then they, of course, they can do that thing you were just talking about the manager and the employees being able to have a better conversation, because they're both looking at the same data on current skills, future skills, and so on. They can build their role profiles and job descriptions. They can use the analytics to see where their organizational related skill gaps are as well. So it takes on a whole nother level when you apply this across a whole organization.
Yeah. And I think just from that perspective, I'll just take that off the screen for now. Maybe if you could just share a couple of sort of examples of some of the companies that you've worked with and how they've used this and the benefits that they've seen.
Yeah, absolutely. No problem at all. I mean, there's quite a lot of different examples. I mentioned the NHS one earlier. I think of another example who won't mind me using their name, is because they've gone public with their challenges that they had. So a company called Finning. So they're actually, you know, those big caterpillar earth moving devices, and like JCB, but they're the caterpillar, not JCB. So you know, it's the other alternative. So Finning are the largest caterpillar dealer across UK, Canada, and South America as well. So they came to us a little while ago with do you know that their challenge was they did an employee engagement survey each year, and the learning and development score was 10 to 15% lower than they expected it to be.
Wow.
So they felt that they were failing their staff in terms of learning and development. That's what their staff were telling them in the feedback. And of course, the biggest reason for people leaving organizations generically is actually, it's not salary, it's lack of development opportunity. The surveys that you see around why people leave, that's the top reason. So of course, your most talented people are the ones that you're likely to lose if you don't actually give them those opportunities. So they did a bit of searching around. They found SOFIA, they found us, they came to us asking for a bit of help. We put in place the SOFIA framework using the SkillsTX tool, created their job descriptions, role profiles. Everybody did their self-assessment exactly the same as they can do here, and then built their action plans, added the items in they needed for the action plan, and started to actually move forward in terms of their development. They did this alongside a big HR tool implementation as well. But what they found with some of those generic HR tools is that you don't get the granularity of the skills. You know, it's very general. It says you might need a information security skill. Well, for development, you sort of need to know whether that's security administration, where you're granting access to somebody to an application, or whether you're a penetration tester, or you're doing digital forensics. You know, these general HR tools are great at what they do, but they don't go into that level of detail that allow you to focus in on the core specialisms. So that's why they implemented SkillsTX alongside the Workday solution they were implementing. Cut a long story short, they put that in place. They've resurveyed their staff. They've seen a dramatic improvement in that learning and development skill. And they are putting that down to the work that we did with them. So, you know, great improvement, and actually making their people feel that they really are important. I think this is what a lot of organizations have found, particularly in this current situation. Actually, it doesn't matter how clever we are with the technology. It actually all comes down to the people and the skills and experience that they've got. Without the people, none of it works. So focusing on the people, their development is good for the individuals and their well-being as well, because they feel valued, they feel supported. So all of those good things around well-being and development and retention as well, but also it's beneficial for the company.
Yes, absolutely.
So it's win-win all round. So that's a really good example.
And what are the kind of the common mistakes that you see organizations making in the skills space?
So the first mistake is deciding it's too difficult and not doing anything.
Yes.
And do you know what there was a report from Gartner, was it last year, I think, that showed that 75% of organizations would actually suffer operational impact that was visible to their customers because they didn't have the right skills at the right level in the organization.
Wow.
But it also noted that most of them don't even know what skills they have. They don't have a skills inventory. They've never assessed what skills they have in the workforce. So they've no idea where they're starting from.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the biggest mistake, is not doing anything. And actually with tools like this and SOFIA frameworks and all of those things, it's actually a lot easier to do than you think it is.
Yeah.
But a lot of IT people are very comfortable with the technology. They're not quite as comfortable when it comes to the people and skills and experience side of things, because when you prod a piece of technology, you get a predictable response. When you metaphorically prod a person, it depends on whether they've eaten breakfast today or how they're feeling, all of those things. It's less predictable, and that can be uncomfortable for technology people. So get over the discomfort, recognize we're all humans. Ask them, engage them. What skills have you got? How can we support you better in development? All of those things. So those are the biggest mistakes. The next biggest mistake is actually only assessing people against their current job.
Okay.
So they find out the subset of skills that people have that they're using in their current role, but they don't find out actually the other 50% of their skill set, which is from a project they did 3 months ago, a job they were doing a year ago. They're still current and up to date and usable skills. And that's become even more apparent, that mistake, in the current situation where we've had business continuity situation where you're asking people to use some of those skills. If you don't know that they've got them, you don't know you can call upon them to use them. You're also not going to be giving them the opportunity to practice and keep those skills up to date. You're not going to be able to see where those skills would already move them towards another role and support and be transferable as well. So that's one of the biggest issues, is only assessing the subset of the person about the current role, when really you want a complete picture of their whole skill set. So those are the biggest mistakes I see.
Fantastic. Thank you. So coming up to the end of our 30 minutes here, top tip for the people that are watching this now, what should they do at the end of this broadcast?
So you should click onto that link and baseline your skills. Each person can't 100% rely on other people for their development. You have to take a certain amount of ownership yourself. So take that control, baseline your current skills. Regardless of what situation you're in, if you're in a secure job, it will help you to have that conversation with your manager about your development planning, what support you need. If you're looking for work, then it will help you to identify potential career paths. It will even help you to apply for those. You imagine somebody alongside their CV presents their skill profile, their digital CV. That's got to put them in a better position of expressing their skills and their suitability for a particular role. So regardless of the situation you're in, everybody should have a baseline of what their skills are. Everybody should have a development plan with some direction in it, and then go and grab the online training that suits your development needs. Add all of those other actions to your action plan. Just start the process.
Fantastic. Thank you. And from the ITSM Zone perspective, we are really proud to be starting this partnership, because this is everything we've been talking about for the last 13 years. Training is amazing. Put it into context, understand why you're doing it. We start every course by saying, think about why you're taking this course. So giving people the tools to do that, I think is a fantastic thing to do. So thank you for sharing that with us today. Next ITSM crowd, we are still fixing the date, but it's going to be mid-June. And we are joined by Dr. Chris Williams from Durham University Business School and ITIL 4 author and consultant Barclay Ray. And we're going to be talking about the fact that technology's here to stay. So everybody's proved they can transform, keep things running, but how do we actually fix this in place and make sure that we take advantage of all the benefits that we've seen in the midst of all this chaos and confusion? So look out for the date for that coming soon on the ITSM Zone website, but that should be a really good discussion as well. So thank you so much for sharing your thoughts today, Matthew. Really, really appreciate it. Looking forward to working with you more. Thank you to everybody who's been watching, and we'll see you on the next episode of the ITSM Crowd. Thank you, Matthew.
Thanks. Bye.